Welcome back to Reflected. This is episode number 3, Friends and Friends. Yes, this is Reflected, a place where we talk about everything from ham radio or amateur radio or whatever you prefer to call it, to electronics, to life lessons in general, I suppose, and everything in between. Well, I suppose today's topic is somewhere in between life lessons and amateur radio. So, as with a lot of things, you're going to, as you get into amateur radio, not so much, well, I suppose you could run into this right away too, but it seems like, at least for me anyway, the more established I got into it, the more I started to notice this. And that is the difference between friends and friends. And this isn't just isolated to amateur radio, as I'll get into. But you are going to, as you get into amateur radio, and this is by far the most wonderful part of the hobby, as far as I'm concerned, and that is the making of new friends. You get on the air on HF or digital modes or voice or VHF and UHF, whatever mode you may be operating. You get out there and you start making new friends. You start talking to people you've never talked to before. Generally, they are of like-minded because you're all into amateur radio. It kind of draws a certain mindset of people, and you start to, like I said, form new friendships, and some of which will last a lifetime. And those friendships may spill over into personal meetings. Maybe you meet up with them at a ham fest or something, or maybe you actually go to visit them. So you are definitely going to make what I would call the real friends. The people you enjoy spending time with, the people who enjoy spending time with you, the people who you are, you're uplifting to each other. You're there for each other. It's a truly beautiful thing when you run into and make a genuine friend. But you are also going to run into the other category, the category I call friends. So these will be the people that will use amateur radio as a example to start with. But you will run into people who they find out maybe you're really good at electronics, right? So you'll find the person that says, hey man, I've got a HF rig that's not quite right. Would you mind taking a look at it? And if you're still new in the hobby, or you're just a really nice person, you'll say, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll take a look at it for you. So you take a look at it and get it all fixed up or whatever, and give it back to them, and odds are that's the last time you're going to see that person until something else happens. And by the way, that same person will also be the person that, if anything at all in the slightest happens to that HF rig that you just repaired, it will now be your problem. So just bear that in mind. So unfortunately, these people are out there, and it's not just amateur radio. I've always said that there are two specific things that you can buy if you really want to have a lot of the second category of friends, and that is a 2-post automotive lift and a car trailer. You buy those two things, well, either one of those things, but especially if you buy both of them, you will have friends pop out of the woodwork like you've never thought possible. Suddenly, you will be Mr. Popularity, the coolest person on earth. Um, and yes, yeah, it's true. It will happen. The same is true in a lot of things. I suspect amateur radio is definitely one of them. If you have a particular set of skills, and usually in amateur radio, it's going to be something electronics related. Let's be honest. Maybe you're good at networking. Maybe you work in an IT department during your day job, and you're really good at networking. And during Hamfest, let's say you set up this really elaborate mesh network or whatever local network that all your equipment can operate on. It makes everyone's life a lot easier and a lot nicer. Plus, it's just fun to do. Well, then you start getting the IT related questions. People start calling you up and said, "Hey, my network at home is really slow. Can you stop by and give me a hand?" So, yes, unfortunately, those people exist. Now, I will admit, some of this is my fault, because some of it was unwittingly my fault, we'll say, not unwillingly, unwittingly my fault. And that is because at the time, I was just too naive to see what was happening. And, I like to consider myself a nice person. So I think some of that played into this. But whenever somebody would come to me and ask for help, I would generally help them. And after a while, you start to get so many people who the only time they ever talk to you or want anything to do with you is when they need something from you. That begins to wear on you. That begins to affect you emotionally in ways that you don't necessarily notice right away. I certainly suffer from a few mental conditions, we'll say. I definitely deal with depression, and I definitely deal with some form of ASD. So, and when it comes to the depression, I don't know if I'm pretty sure what I've put myself through has made it worse for me. I guess in later years, in the last couple years anyway, I've certainly made progress in the right direction, we'll say. But for a while there, before I took my, shall we say, sabbatical from amateur radio, I was in tough shape. So I never had made friends easily, and I thought, since I had joined amateur radio, I had all these people who wanted to interact with me, and I thought I mistook that for genuine friendship, which later, as I found out, was not the case and was exceedingly damaging. Now, I did make a few genuine friends along the way, and they're absolutely terrific people. I wouldn't trade the world for them. So you will meet people who will become your genuine friend. So don't think that everyone you meet is going to be a terrible person. Unfortunately, it seems like a majority of them are, but there are those few that will be genuine friends. And for me, I can probably count how many genuine friends I have on one hand. Like I said, I don't make friends easily. And now especially, I pick my friends with great care. So, and now the particular hard part for me is, one of my friends has moved out of state, so we don't communicate as much as we used to. Well, you all have met him anyway. It's Chris from Standing Wave Podcast. So at least we have that. We're doing that together. Um, there's, another good friend of mine. He still lives in town. He works in the IT department. So I'm sure he works in the IT department at a local college. I'm sure he knows what I mean when you get the IT questions. Uh, Another one lives in Canada. So, I don't get to spend a lot of time talking to him. Usually when he comes down to visit, especially during the whole Rona incident, and I closed the Canadian border. So that was that was interesting. And then there was probably my best friend, who is now no longer with us. Um, Died not that long ago in a car crash, and it's moments like that while extremely difficult for me, because like I said, I don't make friends easily. It puts into perspective what's really important. And I know that seems like a bit of a cliche, but it's absolutely 1,000% true. You can be gone the next minute. 1 minute you're driving into work. You're thinking about the tasks you got to complete at work and whatever else. Maybe you're changing the station on the radio, and then it's just all over, and that's the end of it. So never take anything for granted. Cherish those genuine friends. But what do you do about the second category, the friends category? Well, this is something it took me quite a while to learn, even longer to master, and I'm not really even fully mastered at it yet. I still really struggle with this, and that is the ability to say no. It is okay to say no. You have my permission to say no. When someone comes and asks you, hey man, can you take a look at this? If it's the first time you've ever met this person and they're in genuine need of help, there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking that on. And it's up to you if you want to be charitable. If you want to expect nothing in return, that's a very noble thing to do. But when it becomes a pattern, the second or the third time or the fourth time that person comes to you and needs something done, and they don't give anything back to you in return, whether that, especially if that's acknowledgement or interaction or friendship, it's it's time to fire them as a friend, because they're not really your friend. They're just exploiting you for your ability, because they know that they don't have anywhere else to go, and that they can't do that themselves. They can't fix the thing themselves. They don't want to put the effort into learning for themselves, as I'm sure you did. They just want the easy route, and you're providing that for them. You are providing them the easy way out. You didn't get an easy way out. I'm sure, like me, you either had a fantastic mentor or you taught yourself, as I did. So you put the legwork in, you put the effort into educating yourself, and you put the effort and money into setting your lab up. You have the equipment, you have the expertise. They do not. They didn't put the effort into doing any of it, and they have no interest in learning or bettering themselves. They're just looking for the easy way out. It pains me sometimes to say things like that, because I know some of these people personally, and generally they're not bad people, and sometimes they don't even necessarily understand that this is what they're doing to you. But that's why it's even more important for you to tell them no when it starts to become a problem. Otherwise, it will spiral out of control, and it will just become expected of you, and then new responsibilities will be added to you. And pretty soon, people are going to start getting angry at you for not doing things that you didn't even know you were supposed to be doing. So, believe me, I speak from experience. It's best to take care of that right up front. Don't wait. So, you will be much better off in the long run. It will be extremely difficult, like I said, depending on your personality. It was extremely difficult for me, still is, but it will be extremely difficult for you to say no to these people, especially when you consider that some of these people may take offense to you saying no. They may get angry with you, but that's only temporary. They may get angry, they may yell at you, they may call you some names or whatever, but in all likelihood, you'll probably never see them again, and that's for the best. So, like I said, you have my permission to say no because you will be better off in the long run. Don't waste your time with the second category of friends. Take that time that you would have wasted on category 2 friends and spend it with category 1 friends, the genuine friends, the people who make your life better, the people who you make their lives better, the people that matter. So, and that is kind of one of the core tenets I'd like to think of amateur radio is making genuine friends. We make genuine friends in this hobby, and surrounded around, let's face it. Man, words are hard. We make these genuine friends around something that, let's face it, is a bit of a nerdy thing, right? Around radio. There's not a lot of people who get into this just to do it, and the more genuine friends you make, the different facets you're going to see of the hobby, right? And the more enjoyable it's going to become. Sure, it's, to some it can be enough fun to sit in your shack and talk on HF or just, listen to shortwave or whatever else, or maybe you build some kits, electronic kits or whatever. And that's entirely fine. If that's your personality, there's zero wrong with that. But for others, the joy of being able to share with other people something that is close to them, something that is exciting them. And like I said, it's a bit nerdy, so that makes it a bit intimate, we'll say, I guess, is, for lack of a better term. But it really is. It's something that makes you vulnerable to somebody else. And when that other person has the same feelings for the same things that you do, it's an amazing thing. You don't have to worry about being judged or ridiculed or whatever else. You can just go do your thing, man, and enjoy it. And that makes the hobby really, really fun. Especially, and the other thing is when you run into someone who doesn't have the same skill set you do, and you don't have the same skill set they do, right? Or maybe they're more familiar in one area of electronics than you are, but you're more familiar in like RF than they are. So it's this amazing combination. The sum is greater than the parts, right? That too can be something that's absolutely amazing, and something that should be experienced by everyone. But as I alluded to earlier, it's not just amateur radio. I was a automotive and on-highway truck or semi-truck mechanic for many years. And when you're a mechanic, the same kind of things happen. You get the coworker that might come in. In my case, I didn't experience the coworkers until I changed vocations. I started running my own business, or for still have a regular day job. I didn't run into this until I stopped being a mechanic. But you'll get the coworker that comes up to you and says, "Hey, something's going on with my car. What do you think it is?" And it's the same kind of thing, right, that we just talked about. You got to learn to say no, otherwise it will turn into a problem. Especially when you work with this person, it can get real uncomfortable real fast. So, You cannot let it fester. It will damage you. The longer you let it go, the more it will damage the person who's asking you for it. The best thing to do is like a Band-Aid. As soon as it becomes uncomfortable, man, just rip it off. Just get it done with. Just say no. So, so that is, I guess that's my outlook on friends and amateur radio and in life, I suppose. Don't waste your time with the fake ones, right? The second category. Category 2 friends. Take that time that you would have wasted on them and spend it with category 1 friends. Your life will be so much the better for it, believe me. I'm just now finding that out, that I should have focused more on the category 1 friends than the category 2. Because like I said, you'll never know when some of those category 1 friends will no longer be with you. And there'll be a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of regrets. And it's not fun for any of us. So anyway, I hope that you've learned something and I've helped you with something. If so, feel free to subscribe to the podcast. I try to keep things casual. I don't necessarily have a scheduled release date for these things. They kind of happen whenever they happen, But as always, I hope to consider you a friend. And, check me out on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Standing Wave. You can leave lots of comments there. Perhaps I'll do a video on the friend subject too. I try to keep the YouTube channel a bit more, lighthearted, we'll say, and more amateur radio related than the podcast. I feel like on the podcast we can get into more deeper subjects, some more subjects that, you don't necessarily want to talk about in a YouTube video, for various reasons. But anyway, it was fantastic talking to everyone today. As I said, I hope this information has helped you. I guess another important thing to know is that you are not alone in this. I went through. I am still going through it right now. So don't think you're alone in this, because you're certainly not. Also, remember to be kind, because everybody is fighting a battle you don't know anything about, which plays hand in hand to what we were just talking about. You don't know what people are going through, So keep that in mind, I suppose. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble now, so we'll go ahead and end this. Again, thank you for listening. Check me out on YouTube. I hope you have a fantastic day. N0ZFG, out.